Wellesley is the proud mama to a little sweet rescue pup named Petunia, and they do everything possible together. One of my greatest joys, actually, Wellesley, is looking on your Instagram for updates from Petunia. Uh,
Yes.
Wellesley is always looking for a new Lego set, will forever be a theater kid, and enjoys taking in DC's vast theater scene. Wellesley formed a passion for community organizing purely out of a search for hope, support, and community after the murder of George Floyd. She then got wrapped up in the world of politics by working on campaigns in her hometown, Omaha, Nebraska. And in DC, she has worked on digital communication in the US House, the Senate, and the Biden-Harris White House. She is currently building the first ever creator program for Senate Democrats, which connects senators with content creators and new media. So you might be thinking, why is Wellesley on the Leaping Well podcast? And it's because this conversation holds a really potent paradox around how to give yourself fully to something that you already know will end, especially in political campaigns or high stakes time bound roles. This opens up a portal into legacy, performance, impermanence, and even the quiet grief of contribution that doesn't necessarily linger in public memory. So I'm excited about Wesley's theater background, your deep roots in political communication, and your the relational really entry point into organizing. So I'm excited for you to listen in to help explore and learn a little bit from Wesley's perspective about what it means to embody presence when permanence isn't an offer. Okay, first question. We're
I'll
gonna,
be normal.
you don't have to be normal. You don't have to be normal at all. Normal is also a spectrum.
I'm just okay, I know you in many contexts,
That is so true.
but yeah, okay.
And we can just invite the listener in to our brand of normal.
Yes, welcome. You're
Yes.
invited.
Welcome in. Okay, so my first question for you is when you know something's going to end, what does it take to be fully present? And I'm curious how you show up wholeheartedly when the finish line is already visible. I'm thinking about political campaigns, pageantry, theater, like all of those things come to an end. How do you show up and what have you learned about that?
What I've learned about myself in this is I actually really enjoy it.
Mm.
I am a very, very, I love to have control of all things. I love to know how things will go. I want to know what the finish line looks like. I want to know when it's coming. That doesn't make it easier, for the record, that I know these things are ending. It doesn't make it easier, but from an anxious person's standpoint, sometimes it is helpful. And that is something I have to remind myself of. Like, I know when the end date of this thing is. And so I know I can get, I can do the work from where I start because I know where the ending is. That makes like the days where I don't want to do the thing. It's so slow. It's like I know this is ending. I don't want to go into an office every day. I am like a work from home girl through and through. COVID was like I took all online classes in college, like a majority classes online. When I could take a class online, I did. I can work from my bed. I can work from anywhere. True. Like I'm not limited by those things. And so going into an office every day is not my favorite activity. When the White House is your office, you feel like mildly differently, even though it takes like an extra 15 minutes you need to allot for like you add 15 minutes for the security part of your commute. It's like a whole thing. But it eases my anxiety to know when the end is. It's not a when will this end? Am I going to get fired? Granted, could still get fired, but it's not like this waiting game of when will it end. The job I'm in right now is the first time where I'm having the moment of I don't know how this ends. Like it is something that is more permanent. It's something I could do maybe forever. Maybe it ends if TikTok dies. I don't know. So um yeah, it eases my anxiety a lot to know the finality of something, but that doesn't make it less difficult.
It's interesting that you say that because I also thrive on short-term projects. I thrive knowing I can come in, I can give it my all, I can be fully present because I know it's going to end. I don't know how well I would do with a forever, quote unquote, forever, say, nonprofit job or organizing job. So I'm really glad that you said that. Is there anything that you pull from, and maybe this is something that you haven't ever correlated, but is there anything that you pull from your time with pageantry and theater around how you approach your time-bound roles and projects in the political and organizing work that you're doing now?
Mhm. I don't know that I've necessarily thought of it, but it's all been definitely a practice in this. Like theater, you rehearse, rehearse, rehearse for so long, and then you know it ends. You know it wraps. There's a wrap party. It's a whole fun thing. You know the end is coming. When I was crowned Miss Omaha, I knew, okay, I can do all of these things. These are the things that I'd like to accomplish. I can survive all of the madness of people telling me what to wear, how to do my hair. You're not wearing enough mascara. I can do all of that because I'm doing it for a year. So it's all been a practice in that, but I never put two and two together that, oh, this is actually something that even I hesitate to say that it's comfortable for me because it's still never comfortable to like wake up one day and be like, I don't have a job, even though you know for months you're not going to have a job after January 20th. Um, but it's something that I think I have become better at because those are I don't it's fun to me to know when the end is. I like
Yeah.
it. I'm not guessing.
Well, and I'm wondering, I'm thinking about too. So the person listening who is like, yeah, well, I don't have that kind of a job, or that's not my
Yeah.
MO. I think you could still borrow something from what you're saying, Wellesley, around manufacture the end then. Manufacture,
Mhm.
this maybe it's a nonprofit program. When we get to the end of this cohort, how can we plan a wrap party? How can we do an after
Yeah.
action review? Knowing that you were Miss Omaha for a year, you knew that because there's going to be a next Miss Omaha. So, and I'm thinking of the pictures that people take where it's like the passing of the crown to the next crowned
Yes.
person. How do you pass the crown to someone else in your organization? So there's just so many things that my brain is like firing on.
Yeah.
Let's
And one thing on that too,
yeah.
I will say, because I have not always had jobs where I knew they would end. Sometimes I've had jobs where I know it will change quite possibly. Um, but when I was working in the house, something there, even though it's like, an election changes everything, but I would count my time in intern cycles. So I was living to, okay, this is the end of this intern cohort. We do a whole thing for them. They take a picture with the chairman. We like, do, kind of last day of school type things. And then, normally there's like a couple of weeks in between. The next intern cohort comes and you do the same thing again. So it was like I was living on their timeline of
Hmm.
they know when this is going to end. So maybe there's a way to
Yeah.
steal it from someone else that you work with in your organization or a project. I feel now I'm
I
living in that project to project
I love
timeline.
that you just said that about living in someone else's timeline because that also takes, I don't know, maybe I'm assuming this, but it feels like it can take the pressure then off of you to have to be in control a little bit because it's someone
Yeah.
else's timeline. You're creating this for them. I mean, I can only imagine knowing you that the experience that they had because of the way that you did that was probably just so incredible and beautiful for them. So that's really cool. I love that you interjected that.
I miss my little interns.
I bet you do. I bet you do. Now you have little Senate, but now you have little Democrats that you're.
Yeah. Minions,
Yes.
members of Congress.
Yes. So you have worked on and helped to run many campaigns which are
Mhm.
built on urgency and not sustainability. And I know that you weren't officially with Vice President Harris's campaign, but you were in the Biden-Harris White House functioning as the vice president's support on the comms side of things. Are there personal practices or community care ideologies that helped you during that time? Maybe also heal, because that was intense. I mean, that was wild. Also, maybe if you want to share a little bit about like when did you start that role? Like how long was that for you?
Yeah, so it's actually such a process. I can't remember, like Naomi, we talked at some point during the process because you probably got a super secret phone call from someone to vouch that I'm not, I'm sane enough to work in the White House. Not well, sanity not required, but sane enough. Um, the process started really with a random phone call one day. I think it was like maybe April of last year. Um, and I was interviewing for this job for a bit. I got the offer, and then there's a whole long kind of, I would call it like a purgatory in a sense, where you're waiting to make sure that, you haven't done anything crazy. You go through a whole background check process, really in-depth thing, all these interviews. And, but backing up just slightly, there was a moment, and I remember the day vividly because everyone else remembers it for other reasons. It was the last piece of my interview, which was to show samples of my work, which is pretty standard in the world that I'm in. So sent my work samples off, made these beautiful graphics I thought were just amazing. I made sure like I didn't know anything about what font the vice president uses, any of those things, but I used my internet tools and super secret agent work to kind of figure these things out so I can make the most beautiful graphics. So they would have no choice but to hire me. I hit send on that graphic. I think it was due at noon. I might have sent it around like 11:45 or something. Then around 1:30, I get a message in a work group chat because mind you, I do still have another job at the time, a work group chat, which we send all of our news updates in. That is Joe Biden's tweet saying he is dropping out of the race and he will not be running. And I'm interviewing to work for the vice president. So I'm just like, this is crazy. I just did the last thing. Like, what does this mean for me? Everyone is thinking about Joe Biden. I'm thinking about me. I'm like, does Wellesley have a job or not? Like, where is this going? And then about an hour and a half later, there's the next. I endorse Vice President Harris to, be the nominee. I'm just like, I'm never going to hear from these people. I am getting ghosted. I will simply never hear from the vice president's team. They are busy. They have things to do. I sent my graphics to their emails that probably have a gajillion emails right now. But I did get a call like that week that was like, okay, you're in. We're doing the thing. Um, and then it just all happened. I can't even remember the original question because now I'm just purely like trauma dumping my day that
Well,
Joe Biden
the
got
question
elected.
was, again, it's a time that was limited. And so when you got the call that we're doing the thing,
Yes.
you were immediately plunged into, I don't know what you want to call it. It could be a version of
Yeah.
it could be a version of chaos. It could have been also a version of absolute joy because this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What did you learn during that time about maybe the question, maybe I'll just change the question about taking care of yourself and
Mm.
balancing a really big job, but also going back to your comment, taking care of Wellesley.
Yeah. I will say taking care of Wellesley at that time was impossible because I was really, and this sounds ridiculous because it's not that we are that close or close really at all, but I was taking care of the vice president because I did not want to do a single thing that could make America doubt the first Black woman in this position. Like that, her weight became my weight, even though it wasn't like we were working next to each other all of the time. It was none of that. It was um I felt like my responsibility was to take care of her. So that really led me to finding the people that were okay to take care of me. And that time, there were just little things I switched. I gave in, I spent the $10 a month and to get like free delivery of groceries, I started doing grocery deliveries. So I would like food because I just could not figure out with like the time the job took, when to like get groceries, when was I going to go to the gym and work out, who was going to watch my dog. So like I just started leaning on so many people. And I won't say that it weeded any of my friends out, but because it truly didn't, but it showed me all of my friends that were able to rise to the occasion because they understood it. And I really leaned on the people that would be okay with me showing up to my birthday dinner on my giant laptop. And like they still wanted me to have a birthday dinner and they knew that I would want that because I did, but I did not have time to plan that or to think it through. That my friends did everything because they're also in this world. They get it. They know we've all we've all had the I'm bringing my laptop out with me. I'm on the phone with my boss moment. And so it was finding people that gave me grace to be the new version of me while also I found refuge because I felt horrible being that girl. I felt horrible. It didn't feel like me. It felt like a play version of me, like I was playing DC, like playing a big dog. It did not feel authentic, even though it was what I needed to do in that moment, and that is me to do what needs to be done in the moment. Um, but to have friends that could support me, and I knew this ends eventually. So I can be this version of myself that does not feel authentic to me for just a little bit. I cannot do this for life.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I also think you are in this world now where you are touching things that the rest of us view as really important, and not just that we view it as important. It is our democracy. All
Yeah.
and it's just from a personal friend comment. It's really cool to watch you continue to give impact and of yourself. And I love that you have figured out little bits and pieces of how to do that and keep Wellesley whole. Um, you might not be able to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there
Okay.
anything that you feel was really freaking powerful that you contributed during this time that was not captured in the formal narrative? Or is there a part of what you contributed that is a part of your legacy, but that was totally behind the scenes?
Oh. Mm. I don't feel like there's anything I can't say, to be honest. Um, I guess to give people a sense, uh, I'm trying to think of the best way to say all of this. So, and now my mom is going to text me. Like, me what my Kava order is. Okay. Love you, mom. Love you, mom. She's been here like a week. We can talk about that off cam. Um, the thing I'm really freaking proud of. So my role when I originally started was going to be managing partnerships for the vice president. She wanted to do more work with content creators, and like bring them into the vice president's residence and have events. And she was already doing that work. It was just there wasn't a person that was solely focused on that. But then she became the nominee, and there are a lot of things that go into that. Um, it was a 107-day campaign, and she had to campaign really hard for 107 days. So my job was managing the at VP accounts. And I needed to make sure that the American public saw the total breadth of everything that Kamala Harris had done as vice president. That she, that people didn't give her credit for or know about, frankly. Um, the a lot of the things that she did were not in the media. Um, and not, I think people say like, oh, this doesn't get covered. And that's not necessarily true, but it wasn't like the thing that everyone was talking about all the time was this is what the vice president did that day. Like there were stories about it. Their comps team was amazing. So it was covered, but not everyone didn't necessarily know all of the work that she had been doing. And a good vice president works. And she was a great vice president, so she worked plenty. And So that is the thing that I'm really proud of. It was all behind the scenes, which is fine by me. I would prefer to be behind the scenes. She can, she's fantastic and can be the face of all of the things. That's great. Like I am proud and thrilled to just be a part of making sure that people know that it happened.
Well, and I think going back to that time, obviously knowing that you were behind a lot of that, what I loved about the work that you and your team did was it didn't, what's the word I want to say? It wasn't, Sarah, you're gonna have to take a lot of these out. Um,
Thank you, Sarah.
the work that you and your team did was separate from the candidacy. It wasn't
Yes.
like we're showing you this because we want you to also know that she's an excellent candidate and would make an amazing president. It was this is the work of a vice president of the United States of America, and this is the other thing I loved about it, Wellesley, was, and this is why it matters to you. As you're watching this
Mhm.
reel, as you're watching these photos, this is why it matters to you as an American citizen. And I just thought that
Mhm.
was so potent and so beautiful is it does
Thank
capture the
you.
legacy of her vice presidency separate from the fact that there was also a candidacy going on. And I just thought that was, I don't know anyone else that could have done it in a way that you and your team did it. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. It was a really exciting time too, because then the spotlight was on her and everything she had done. And so then all of a sudden everyone there's a closer eye to all of
Yes.
the work that she had done in the past. So it's fun. It was a fun to be a part of telling that story of some of the things that people might have missed
Which, so
along her
then
4 years.
taking us back to the likely listener is in nonprofit, take this
Yeah.
opportunity to think through what can you, sweet listener, do a better job of amplifying the work that you are doing? How can you better amplify the work of your programs? How can you make sure that people know the work and the impact that the community has because of your work? I think we get so caught up in the nitty-gritty of the day of the fires that we forget to say, and this is the good stuff we're doing. So thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. Um, I can only imagine because the rest of the country, well, not everyone, but the people I would hang out with, were deeply traumatized by the outcome. But for you, it was not only that, but it was also an end, like inauguration day. You know,
Mhm.
have you been able to wrestle with or acknowledge or transform in any way the grief that lives inside of that work and that time?
Mm. Yeah, I would say it came in different waves, I will say. Now it's me versus the mosquitoes. Okay, we get it. This is your home first. I don't want to get bit. Okay. The grief's come in truly like a variety of waves. Obviously, the first being election night. I was there as the votes were coming in. I have vivid memories of it. I do not go past Howard very often because it's a beautiful campus. It is a sad space for me. Um, I think the joy in it was the team. Like we we knew it was ending. I know I've said this so many times, but we knew it was ending. And it just had different paths of what the ending would look like. Like no matter what happened, on January 20th, the Biden-Harris administration was over. It was just a matter of would it be then the Harris Walz administration moving in? What does that look like? Um, there were there were many waves of it. There was the like we're all crying. There was the I can't get out of bed phase that came, a couple of times. Um, but it was also one of our like video director, Aza, opened her home. She and her wife have this beautiful home and the cutest little dog, Rex. And her home was just open to anyone at any time, just to like not be alone. I am not the kind of person I did not answer texts. I did not leave my house. I did not go to Oz's, but just like the opportunity for there to be community um, was really beautiful. It was my boss, Morgan, saying, hey, let me review people's resumes. Let me review your cover letters. The like, I feel like everyone always says, like, I'll be a reference, I'll be a reference. We hear that all the time and people mean it, but it was just like everyone was saying it in a way that they like truly meant it. Everyone was cheering people along. One of my best friends, in the White House, Trisha, she, we joke that we would, um, coordinate when the vice president and the second gentleman would kiss on social media because she was running his account and I was running hers. We didn't like that didn't actually happen, but that we made that joke to a creator the other day and he did not laugh. Um, but we were working really closely together and we're all in the space of sitting at work trying to figure out what is next, what are we going to do now that we know the outcome, and like getting to be a part of her journey. She's like interviewing for things. We're like, who can we call? How can we help? Like, who can we get to flag this about? Like all of the things. Um, and then for her to like show up one day and be like, I got the job that I really wanted. And now we get to work together again. She's just one floor below me in the Senate. And so it's like the community and the true human aspect that got me through a ton. And just to be around people that get it and understand, like a ton of people reached out and said like really kind things. And uh, like that was helpful eventually when I had the like stomach to read sad messages. But to just be around people that were ready to and that understood, hey, Wellesley needs to go take a 30-minute call. Who knows what it's about? Maybe it's a job interview during the day. Like that that understanding got me really far in the grief of it all.
I love that you just, I mean, I love everything that you said, but I'm thinking again about like a lesson for folks to take away. I don't think that we offer folks enough space inside of a current job to actively be searching for something else. And that is something that's a gift in the work that you do because there is an end,
Mhm.
that there's more understanding. And I just think there could be even more of that in the normal workplace.
Mhm.
People tell you that they are searching, let them take a day to go have an interview. That would be a beautiful world. If you could redesign the way that people prepare for temporary but really high impact work, I think about folks that are flown in after a climate disaster to help with cleanup. I'm thinking about folks that are doing technical assistance for, I mean, the homelessness situation in DC right now. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
on the ground for temporary but high impact work, your work.
Mhm.
What would you encourage them, or what would you think the system would need to do to better support folks to stay engaged and present, but soft and clear, supported but engaged? Like, what do you think we should do?
Yeah. I think the hardest part of any sort of high impact work that's really short is your life transitions so quickly to something different. And when you're so focused on the outcomes for someone else all day, it's hard to manage um your self-care. And even in the most um like basic ways of like where am I getting food? What am I doing? Like they bring in people for campaigns. I think of that often like field organizers. Um and it sounds almost silly in a sense and selfish, but like where do I get food? Like where what do I have time for? When do I have the minute to go get food? I'm in a brand new place. Where am I going to get food? Even like being dropped into a campaign in a random city, thankfully has not happened to me. Nebraska politics have enough battles for me to climb alone. I cannot go to another state to fight. Um, but it's just like we're bringing in these people and I'm trying to explain to them, okay, these are restaurants to go to. This is a place to go. This is the grocery store near you. This is like the pharmacy near you. Just things that we take for granted being in a space all of the time. That was another one of the things when I transitioned to this job. My boss, Morgan, she was like, "Oh, here are like the places to get coffee around here. Here's where we get lunch sometimes." Just to get a lay of the land is really helpful, and to be clear in the goals that you have and the outcomes that you're looking for people. Um, Sometimes it's hard to be clear, but just as clear as you possibly can be because it is so short and fleeting. So it's like, how can I look back on this and know it was a success?
I love that so much. I'm like thinking so much about how we also each have agency and power. And it doesn't matter what your title is or your role in a project, we each have
Yeah.
power to do those kind of things, to help
Mhm.
make sure that someone else has what they need to share the experiences or the favorite coffee shop for a new location. Like that's a good
Yeah.
reminder. Um, Wellesley, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that I haven't asked you that feels relevant to the conversation? I mean, you have wisdom for days.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Hmm. Other things. I feel like my overall like thought on all of this, I know I reached out to you at the end of my time in the White House, and I was like, Naomi, you talk about leaving all the time. I'm being kicked out. I'm being evicted. Like the that was just such a weird time. But I think reminding people like there's peace that comes with endings, truly. Like it might not be an immediate peace. I did not have immediate peace because there are two stories that I will briefly share about times ending. Um, but when I was talking about our team and our office like really coming together, we have a group chat, and when you walk into pretty much any door in the White House, there's a picture of the president and the vice president. And as the administration was ending, it's a rolling thing because there are thousands of people that work. There are a ton of people working in the White House, believe it or not. And slowly every day there would be signs on the doors that say office closed, and like those people had left. They had turned in their laptops and all of their things. Um, but I was on the digital team, so I was there until basically the bitter end. I think I was like the second to last day that we could have like possibly been in there. So every day it gets quieter, the halls get darker, it gets pretty ominous. One day, they had changed the portraits from President Biden and Vice President Harris to the next administration. And it was a jump scare, truly. Just because you walk in, you're like, oh, yes, those are my parents. Hello, wave to the wall. Um, and that was not the case. And so that was a moment where it did not feel like this brings me peace. It's like, I am terrified. I was terrified on the day of the inauguration. I live like downtown DC, so I'm like in the heart of all of it. And seeing all of these people who I do not agree with on probably pretty much all things lined up outside of my apartment, I did not have peace. But it continues to reveal itself in little ways. And I was peace knowing that I had done my part in it. I can't really beat myself up over anything. I've never felt the need to. I don't think that I can't speak for everyone. But I don't think it would be helpful for us to beat ourselves up over anything that we did. I think we did a beautiful job. I think our vice president did a magnificent job. And so there was peace in that. Of we did a great thing. The administration did many great things. Um, and we keep fighting. She won't let us not. We have been given no option, no other directive than to stay in the fight. Complacency is just
Mm.
not an option.
Well, and I thank you for sharing that. And I think what it brings up for me is a reminder about what I think is true about legacy is we're only about 50% in charge of our own legacy. The rest of it is what other
Yeah.
people take from our time and our impact. And so I think about that with both uh, Vice President Harris in the role of vice president, her 107-day candidacy. Um, she was only in charge of so much of it. You were only in charge of so much of it. The rest of it is what we all took and what we're going to do about it from here. And just a good reminder to put our all into it, take care of ourselves along the way, find the people that will give you that grace, and then be ready to jump into the next thing. I think that's what I'm also encouraged by you so much, Wellesley, is that that didn't make you think, I'm not doing this anymore. It just, you're like, no, let's keep going. It's going to look different and your boss is different. What you do every day is different, but you've kept going. So it's such a pleasure and a joy to know you. And I'm so glad that you came on for this combo.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. What a new way for us to know each other.
No, I love it actually a
I love
lot.
it. Me too. Me too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Wellesley.
Thank you.
Da 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 da